button on.
All right.
I guess in a few moments, if someone's watching the YouTube, just let me know.
Yeah. I was gonna say if we're live and then people are watching it live that are wanting to be here, then they can actually. I'll open up the YouTube channel too, so they can be like, "Hey, include me, please."
I also want to make sure that our audio is working.
I will. We will try to make sure that's happening. Are we live right now?
I just got an alert on my phone that Node.js is live.
Perfect.
Right.
Cool.
So, but I'm trying to find out if someone.
Oh, yep. I can hear us.
Excellent. Okay. I love it. That's a big props to Jeremiah St. Paul to making sure our audio works. Yes. Okay. It was definitely a user error, I think, on my part. Okay.
Awesome. So, hello everyone, and thank you for coming to today's community committee meeting. We have a suite of new observers from the working group at Node Interactive. So we're going to go down the list, I guess my list, because I know it changes for everyone as you're talking. So that we're in Zoom. We're using Zoom this time instead of Hangouts. So it might change, but I'll go down my list. So I'm Tierney Siren, developer advocate at NodeSource, and I'm a co-chair with Rachel of the community committee. Tracy, you're next.
Hi, this is Tracy Hines. I am probably visible as the Node hexagon today. I am the education community manager for the Node Foundation and community committee member, moderation team member. And hi.
Awesome. Rachel?
Hello, I'm Rachel White. I'm also co-chair of the community committee with Tierney. I'm also a software engineer / evangelist at Microsoft. Yeah.
Awesome. Joe?
Hi, Joe Seppi here. I am a developer advocate with IBM, among other things.
Awesome. Adam?
Hey, I'm a developer at LinkedIn / Microsoft now, technically, among other things. Here's an observer.
Awesome. Yeah. Michael?
I'm Michael Dawson, and I'm the TSC chair, as well as a community committee member and active in a bunch of the other working groups.
Awesome. Gregor?
Hey, I'm a CommComm member and independent JavaScript developer right now.
Ben?
Hi, I'm Ben. I am a developer for a small health startup company right now. I also do a lot of music and the web stuff, and I lead a few meetups here in town, specifically PDX Node. So I do a lot of sort of ground level, getting people into Node stuff at the moment, and really excited to be here.
Awesome. Manil?
Hi, I'm Manil. I work on, well, I'm a developer using mostly JavaScript and Node, and I'm here as an observer as well.
Awesome. Jem?
Hey, I'm Jem. I work in Victoria, BC, and I'm here as an observer. Yeah.
Awesome. Raphael?
I'm a Node collaborator for 6 months or so. I live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, near Boston, and I'm a veteran observer.
Awesome. William?
I'm William Kepke. I am a Node.js collaborator. I am a member of this committee, and I also serve on the board.
Awesome. Maurice?
Hi, I'm Maurice. I'm a developer at the beginning of my career, and I'm here as an observer.
Awesome. Sarah? You there, Sarah Conway?
Hi, everyone. It's Sarah Conway. I work at Linux Foundation on the Node.js Foundation, and I'm here as an observer. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, Sarah. Toby?
I am work in public education in Colorado, and I'm here as an observer.
Awesome. Thanks. Dan?
Hi, everybody. Dan Shaw, D Shaw, Node.js at large. I'm an observer and been sort of helping bootstrap a couple things. User feedback is something that I'm interested in helping out on. And I've been encouraging folks from kind of the enterprise community that haven't felt like they had a way to interact with the foundation and liaise to come and collaborate in the CommComm, which is perfect for them.
Awesome. And then we also, Toby, did we get to you?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, the icons are all switching around. And then we have someone on the phone. Who's that?
That was Sarah. She's double.
Okay, awesome. Cool. So I think that's everyone. 17 people, looks like. So Tracy, do you want to kick it off with the your little onboarding?
Oh, one second, really quickly. Oh. Is there anybody that would volunteer to take minutes for the meeting?
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel.
Basically, just keep take notes.
I'm willing to do my best, although I don't seem to have edits.
I can give you.
Sure.
Let's see. What's? Could you place the email, your email that you want to use in the Zoom chat?
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Yeah, I made a bunch of suggestions trying to change to friends. So I'll do my best. If other people, can add in too. I find sometimes having a few people doing it really helps.
If anyone else wants to work on that, the link, I can paste the link in the Zoom chat, but it is also in the GitHub issue. Here's the link, and just paste your email in if you want edit access. Awesome. Okay. So Tracy, do you want to get started?
Yeah. So hi again. This is Tracy. I'm gonna see. Let's see if the share screen doesn't get a little wonky with this fun setup that we've got going on. Let's see. Great. Okay, so can you all see the community committee repo right now?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to say hi to any and all observers. We like to use the observer status as a way to become a member for the community committee because when it comes to contributions, clearly because our work is mostly outside of code within the project and the community, we have to have other ways of being able to allow you to contribute. So code does not equal contributions when it comes to community committee. So welcome. We're really excited for anybody, and you can also observe meetings. So what we often have happen as well is we'll have visitors from other parts of the project or from the ecosystem who are providing us guidance, and they'll visit for a single meeting. But if you'd like to keep returning, being marked as an observer is a way that you can build up to becoming a member. We actually have that in our documentation for how you end up building up to becoming a member of our community. And so you can actually see here in the community committee, we have our governance document, which is probably just not a good idea for me to do that. Okay, sorry. And what I would recommend is first is if you're interested in helping out, we don't have too many documents right now, but the governance doc, the contributing doc, and the collaborator guidelines are, I think, not too long and a great way to get to see sort of what's going on in the path to being a member. And of course, we want to recognize that we have a code of conduct. It is the code of conduct for the project. And that's also good to read if you haven't read it prior. And it's certainly something that's central to the work that we do in the community committee. And the big thing that I want to point out here for those who are interested in becoming and participating, you don't have to be a member to participate, right? You're here, you're talking, you're filing issues, you're filing PRs. You don't have to be a member to do any of that, and we welcome any contribution, especially when you've asked for help, because we love to be able to provide context if you're missing that. So a good way to look at things that you might want to hop into are our issues section. So we've got help wanted and good first issues as labels here in our issues. And we're certainly trying to look and see how, as we add more issues on a regular basis, it's good for us to look to see what those good first issues are, because that's a great way for you to help contribute. Usually it means that we've provided enough context that you can hop in and get started. But if you have questions, my recommendation is anyone who has already participated in that issue in particular, or who's filed the issue or pull request, it's a great opportunity for you to ping them for guidance. And that can be, I believe, in our... Sorry, I'm trying not to keep this too long-winded. Yeah, so we have ways for you to be able to contact existing members if you have questions. We have our GitHub identities as well as email addresses. I am also available on Twitter for DMs if folks need me, and I think a number of other members are as well. But obviously, since we have our emails listed, that's probably the first line of defense if you have a question. I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy. So in the repo, we actually have the meeting notes for this meeting. It's, I think, the 3rd or 4th issue down. Yeah, 4th issue down. So if you're not already in that, I am pasting the link into the Zoom meeting. Rachel, I don't know if you're available, but if you could put that in the chat as well, YouTube, that'd be really helpful. But so our agenda is a little bit down. And so first item on the agenda is the CommComm section.
Sorry, you can't actually post URLs into the YouTube chat for like spam reasons.
I believe Tracy can.
Okay. I can't. But...
Yeah. Sorry. Whoever's running the stream, if you could do that, that would be helpful. But the first item on the agenda is the CommComm section, adding CommComm section to the Node.js website. This has been on the agenda since the last meeting, but I wanted to make sure it was raised again. I added the good first issue label just because it might be a way to, a good way to get started. And I know it's a lot of content writing, and I know both myself, probably Rachel, Tracy, would all be happy to give context around, what we need, what we're looking for in that. So I'm happy to help anyone if they want to take that on as a first issue to go in and update the website currently, because right now it only has the TSC. Is there anyone that would like to try to take that on?
I'd be happy to claim that as long as there's some help around language.
Awesome.
Sorry, who was that who's speaking?
That was Adam Miller.
Adam, okay.
Thank you.
Hey, sorry to jump in really quick. If you are not currently speaking, could you make sure that your mic is muted, because there's some ambient noise coming in through the YouTube chat. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. I will leave a note on this issue then for me as well to follow up with you, Adam. Cool. So next item on the agenda. This is an item that I think Michael's given us context on in the past, but it's the documenting expectations on the TSC and CommComm members. So Michael, I know we've kind of heard from you in the past on this. Could you give us kind of a brief description and then where it's at now and what we need to do to move it forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the goal is to formalize expectations, and expectations we think were kind of already there, but to make it clear that we have a higher level of expectation on the people who take up the leadership positions across the project. So this is a first attempt to document what they are. They're there are things like being a good example for the the rest of the community. I don't think I want to go through exactly everything that's there, but they're there as a first cut at what those expectations are. It's been out there for actually quite a long time. The next step is for it to land. There are a number of 6 or 7 LGTMs, no currently outstanding objections, and I think for this group it's kind of the last call to get in there and comment. Otherwise, my plan is to land it tomorrow.
Okay, awesome. So with that, I know both Rachel and I need to review it. And anyone else that's either participating as a member or an observer, we would like to get your feedback on that document specifically. So you don't need to be shy about it. You're welcome to contribute and share your thoughts. We'd love to have it. So,
and I guess I'll add as well, like, this is not the final version, right? This is just the initial version. My preference is to get something landed and then iterate from there. So if you fully object to what's there, then hey, we should block and stop doing that. If it's something like you look at it and say, hey, there's some things I want to suggest, but I'd be happy to have those added in afterwards, I think that's also a good way to look at it.
Awesome.
And there's a lot of thumbs up. Like, to me, this is good to go. There are some like nitpick comments from Trot, I think, and if we can address them, that would be good. But other than that, like,
yeah, I pushed commit to address his nitpicks unless he's made more since this morning. So yeah, I guess it's like unless you have some fundamental things, it's been out there quite a long time. I'd prefer if we could get something and then we can immediately follow that up with PRs that make it even better if that's necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. So yeah, just as an action item, this has kind of been an action item for community committee members for a while, but take one last look. If there are no blocking objections, it's going to get pushed through.
Yeah, something that I've been very inspired from, interacting with the Kubernetes community as they defined some of these, and laid down some of these things. They brought with them this, very healthy expectation that they were going to get things wrong and they were going to work to improve that over time. I think that we would benefit greatly from, beginning to sort of give ourselves a break and allow ourselves to make our best pass that we can do now, and continue to work to improve it over time as our understanding grows.
Can you add a link to that, maybe in the discussion, to the Kubernetes version?
I'll post in the issue. I'm happy to. I don't have it tip of my fingers, but I do have the links somewhere. I'll drop it in the issue that's associated with this meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan. I believe someone else had something to say as well.
Yeah, I was just going to second that. If there's language in there describing it as a living document, that bodes well for future content.
Perfect.
I think that's a great reminder just for every doc in general, right? Like, it's just like code. All of our, including governance, anything in there is up for debate and refinement, and like that's absolutely what we should be doing. There's nothing wrong with questioning what's already there.
Totally agreed.
Yeah, they're always a point in time. This is what we thought was the best we could do at this point in time, and at any time we think, hey, we can do better, or it's no longer applicable, yeah, it should fire in the PR to change it to what it should be.
Awesome. Cool. So, like I said, action item, go check that out if you can. Getting approvals on it, great, super helpful. Okay.
I can take the next one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Rachel.
Yep. So the next issue on the agenda that we have has been on the agenda for a long time. It's the internationalization and localization working groups. So we have an issue open of people that have said that they are interested in working on this sort of thing. I've put out calls on Twitter for more people to see if they're interested in it. And I think that we're really at the point where we need to actually finally start taking some action items towards, breaking those people into working groups and figuring out the best way to tackle it, and like what are the best ways to move forward with the actual working groups. Tracy and I have briefly discussed looking at the demographics of the active languages that are used from countries that are not native English speakers, and I know that there's at least 3 or 4 different languages represented for people that are volunteering to help. So I also want to say that I ideally in the past we've just discussed issues and said what we need to do with them, but we haven't really taken the initiative to, just because it's been extremely busy for Node the past few months. So what I would like to do is I volunteered to help organize the internationalization working group. I unfortunately can only speak English, but if anyone else is interested in helping me out, by the next meeting in 2 weeks, which will be during NodeConf EU, so that's going to be difficult. I would really like to help. I would like to have some help making a list of all the people that said that they were interested in working on the internationalization working group, figuring out what skills that they have with previous internationalization efforts, and figuring out what exactly we want to focus on first. Like if there's something that should be translated before other sections, which is just, maybe the Node.js website, maybe the documentation, maybe readmes for different working groups under the Node.js organization. I would like to see if anyone would like to help do that. Is there anybody that's interested in this sort of thing?
Yeah, I might be interested in helping with that.
Okay, cool. So I am
Sorry,
going to
just ask again. Who was it who spoke there, so I can?
That was me, Ben Mitchell.
Michael. Okay, thanks.
You could throw Adam Miller's name down there too.
Okay, so I'm actually going to update the issue and saying that we're discussing it in today's meeting. Myself. Ben, what's your Twitter or what's your GitHub handle?
Open source.
Okay. And who was the other person that said that they were interested in?
That's Adam Miller, AM Miller -GH, I believe.
Wait, AM Miller -GH. Okay, cool.
-GH.
Are going to take actionable steps, TBD, to help move this forward by November 9th. All right.
I would also suggest dropping into the individual node repos for each language. You can look at the graphs when you look at the overall repos, and you can see which ones have activity.
Great.
And drop in there and just leave a message, because like Korea, for example, Korean is actually active, but they don't participate in other parts of the org.
Yeah, that's a perfect idea. I would still like to come up with the steps that we're going to take before we do the initial reach out to the subgroups, just so we're not like casting a wide net without any plans to go forward from it at that point. But I 100% agree. That's a great thing.
Cool. Also, where are we getting the data for which languages?
Tracy has that Node.js survey that went out last year, and I think that we were looking at that.
Okay. Additionally, I have statistics from Node Green, because I have Google Analytics there. So if that's at all helpful, just let me know.
Absolutely.
Ooh, yeah, very helpful. Yeah,
and Node.js.org as well.
Yeah.
The NPM folks might be interested in giving us some other data too about language tests.
Here.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help. I just can't lead in anything. I can especially point to ways that we can reach out to folks that I've been successful with. especially in doing like really terrible translations and then getting help in fixing them.
So speaking of getting help, I'm a little hesitant to bring this up because there's just been one touch base about it. But at Node Interactive, I mentioned possibly reaching out to the translation team at LinkedIn about donating translation services to the Node project in some capacity. I spoke with the head of translation PMs at LinkedIn about that. They seemed very interested and curious to explore it more. It would probably require a more detailed scope of work, and happy to help get that together and see if we can explore that.
Yeah, that would be super helpful. Also, I don't know about how LinkedIn, oh no, I lost my chat window. I don't know how LinkedIn does it compared to Microsoft, but do you have access to all of the Microsoft Teams org stuff, or are you separate from us?
I think we're in a separate instance of it, but we do have access to Microsoft Teams.
Okay, because I am in the Node.js project management team, and it would be probably great if I could loop you in with all of those people as well, because then
Totally.
that would just give more resources.
I'll check right now if I'm on that and can find that room.
Cool.
Sweet.
So yeah, Rachel and Adam, we should probably connect and see how we can help you, Adam, get what you need to do that.
Yeah, awesome. I'd love to come to them with a solid pitch and scope of work.
Awesome. Perfect. Awesome. Let's see here. So Rachel, is that all you wanted to cover with that? Anything else?
Yep, it's mostly we need to just organize now that we have people saying that they're willing to help.
Awesome.
There are 3 events happening. So there's JS Asia, Node Fest, and it's the time of the year for Play Node, though I haven't seen the announcement yet. It's a Korean Node conference. So it'd be a great opportunity if we can, kind of tee those things up. We have people, I know Miles is heading there to JS Asia, I believe, that can, sort of carry the baton and work with some folks locally.
I know Miles is also doing a values session at JSConf Columbia, and so that might be another, we should reach out to Miles on that translation there as well.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, let's see here. I'm making sure I have the issue open, okay, there we go. Okay, so done with the check mark on the internationalization localization working groups. So Node.js user feedback project planning. Tracy, do you want to take this one? It's still on the agenda. I know we've talked about it previously. I know we've had interest. Michael and I and Tracy have all participated in an initial meeting. But I know Mike Bolster is interested in participating as well, as in addition to Dan. Do you have any kind of next steps you want to take with this, Tracy?
Yeah, so what I would like to see, I think we've seen activity from Dan as well as James Snell. I know that Mike Hostetler had mentioned he'd also like to help out. So I think that we've already got some stuff going on, I think, behind the scenes that's going to happen, that's going to surfacing in a more formalized project moving forward with the user feedback initiative. So we've got that issue, but I would love to see y'all kind of take the next steps with that. So we've got notes from our initial meeting, but because all of the energy I think that is moving forward with this is from other folks, a next meeting might be a good thing because that's the user feedback initiative in itself is such a large project that we were talking at a collab summit about. We've had a couple people step forward offering their project management skills. They are professional project managers by career experience, and that's something that we desperately need within across the project, but especially with things like the user feedback initiative and potentially things like the Node.js.org rewrite. So we'll just make sure, I think, that we need to re-energize that issue and sort of have a next meeting, because I think we're already seeing those conversations happening. We just need to, and if they need to happen elsewhere, Dan, then like that's great. Then because I know that again, what we heard in feedback during Node Interactive was that a lot of the people who want to engage with parts of the user feedback initiative don't really work in GitHub, and that's great. That's fine. And that means that we can bring in more people by connecting in other ways. We just need to have a way to report back in GitHub for transparency's sake.
Right. And my biggest ask there is please assume ignorance, not malice. If you don't see things coming in the expected channels, I've been posting a bunch of issues into the TSC and various other areas, and definitely noticed a lot of the areas where folks would expect, yeah, of course you are always in GitHub all day too, and the reality is no. Running my mouth somewhere. So to that end, the gathering with Mike and William immediately after this session. So if you're really interested and want to engage in kind of organizing the meeting and doing what Tracy was saying, really kickstarting the process again here, raise your hand and please join us. We'll try to get the meeting announcements and a regular meeting cadence set up and on the calendar and in the CommComm repository for everyone to join in soon.
Is that Ben Michael that you're talking to?
Mike Hostetler and William Kapke are the two individuals that have raised their hands so far to sort of be pushing there and dedicate some time.
Okay, so just for the minutes, I'm going to say the three of you guys are basically taking the leadership and moving that forward. Is that accurate?
Maybe a little strong, but starting to talk about what the needs are, and I think we may have a fairly daunting scope of work ahead of us in that what's been laid out there, and trying to map that to available time and effort and prioritize, put some of that project managery stuff to work. And see how we can break things down into something that we can make meaningful progress on.
Right. So I guess my main thing is if it's important if we can say like we know that somebody who's actually pushing this forward, and it sounds like you three guys or people have agreed to say, hey, you'll get together and figure out to at least push the next step.
Yes, yeah, that's where we're at, Michael. The discussion is going to be basically time and availability, and does anyone want to take the lead on the initiative?
So you'll figure that out and then get back to us.
Right.
The other thing is like that meeting is the focus of that, of figuring out how you guys are going to push it forward, or is it actually start to talk about if somebody's interested in just participating but not leading it, should they join that meeting afterwards?
Probably not. No. So it's more finding the leaders and who wants to drive rather than how can I help.
Excellent. Okay, good. Just wanted to scope that.
And also, I think to clarify too is what I think what Dan is talking about is a facet of the user feedback initiative. It is not the entire initiative. So we've got to take off little bites of the elephant because this has been needing to happen for years. So Dan is running with one of those facets. Another one that was mentioned, I think that Raphael was really good to ask about, is the survey. So we need to start working on surveying on a regular basis, and I think that can be a whole other group of maintenance. So that does need to be another next meeting.
And leading into that, sorry to cut you off, Tracy. We have another on-the-fly agenda item that I recalled as we were starting this, which is the request for a survey from Michael Dawson for benchmarking. So I did add it to the initial issue. I labeled it with CC agenda just now. But basically, Michael created an issue asking for a benchmarking or a survey for the benchmarking team. So this is probably a good way to get started on that survey stuff if anyone else is interested. You know, I don't know if we landed on anything, Tracy, for the infrastructure for this, but if you know, that's something we can work on with anyone who is interested in helping out with this.
Yeah, I think so. It was what was that? The last meeting was you, myself, and Michael Dawson. But we're happy. I'm happy to help with the survey stuff. I believe what we had talked about was just Google Forms because anything else you end up having more problems around permissions and account ownership, and there may be benefits to that. But you know, something like SurveyMonkey. But then there's also we're trying not to do large enough surveys where SurveyMonkey would be beneficial, I think. And Google Forms does have basic analysis now. So I'm happy to be tagged on that. And anyone else want to help out with that? I would love. I otherwise I'll assume that when we're getting these issues filed, that we would be working with whoever has filed that issue with the survey request.
Awesome. So if anyone else would to help out with that, let us know now, or you can drop in the issue as well.
And I have a question just in terms of this. So documenting this, right? So when we have these kinds of initiatives happening, should we have points of contact listed somewhere on the repo so that people can contact us if they want to get involved?
Could you clarify what you mean a little bit more?
So like if they want to talk about the, you know, the more specific work, it's hard to, I guess. So like for survey work, if somebody else in even the community committee notices that we've had some surveys or requests filed, like maybe they need to ping myself or you or whoever else has offered to help with the surveys from within the community committee, sort of like who's taking ownership of these things when they don't necessarily have a working group.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to add to the README.
Yeah.
Michael, were you able to take note of that in the minutes?
Yeah, let me just see. We should. So I think this is like, it's similar discussions I think we're having in the TSC that really like there'll be initiatives, and I think like the surveys and the user feedback is a set of initiatives. We should almost have them on the agenda each week to see, like, the answer may be nothing to say, but sort of every week it should almost be like, hey, is there an update on the survey stuff? Is there an update on the user feedback stuff? And then, yeah, along with that, the contacts on the README would make sense. I'll take notes saying we should add contacts for each of our ongoing initiatives to the main README. Initially, probably surveys and user feedback.
So one ancillary benefit to that, Michael, would be that if an initiative loses sponsorship and loses participants, you'd identify that, right?
Yes.
No one showed up in 3 CommComm meetings to say anything about user feedback. Let's reach out to the group of individuals who raise their hand, check in where they are, and if those folks aren't available, we can ask for more volunteers. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they're on the agenda and there's nobody even to just say, hey, nothing to report, you know that, hey, that there's something going on here.
Awesome. Yeah, so I can take that as to do. Just get that in the README and then kind of enable that. So yeah, I can take that as a to do.
Okay, so I'm going to put that. So Tierney will add those. Do you want to add the README as well, or okay?
Yep.
Okay, done.
Perfect. Okay, so next agenda item, I believe we've hit both of the items. Oh God, I lost the issue. Both of the items for the user feedback initiative. I do want to make sure we have 10 minutes left, so I gotta kind of push through this a bit. But moderation team. So one of the issues filed in the admin repo was created by Miles Borens, asking us to kind of participate in a discussion around the expectations for the moderation team. This is more of a ask for review rather than we need to deep dive into this. But the moderation team, for context for those who are new, the moderation team is a team formed relatively recently. I think we have two members here, myself and Raphael, who that basically is empowered to go in and moderate quickly rather than having kind of an issue around moderation where can I moderate this? Is it okay to moderate this? So this is a group of people who have been approved by both, or not objected to by both the TSC and the community committee, that is empowered to go do this. So this is effectively saying these are the people we trust, and they can go moderate this. And so right now the discussion is around enabling how should the moderation team what does the org need to expect from the moderation team? What are the deliverables of the moderation team, and not just necessarily physical, like tangible deliverables, but to what extent is it is the team enabled? And so this is an issue that needs to be reviewed by the CommComm, just like it does by the TSC, and going through the similar process that we did to add the members in. So this is a discussion I'd like kind of everyone here to go look at if you have time, and members and observers, if we would love to get your feedback on this, and people watching on YouTube, we'd love to kind of get more input and hear what you have to say about this, because that's how we can kind of really solidify this for future
right. I'll add in, yesterday in the TSC meeting, we'd asked Forrest to give an update on the progress so far, which he did. He also scoped what they thought their scope was, which is implementing the policy and process, not necessarily defining it. They did agree they could make some suggestions, but if you're interested, you could go. I posted the link in the chat here as to the presentation deck that they did, and if you want to see it live, you can go back to the recording and listen to it there as well.
Yep, that was really helpful. I enjoyed the presentation.
Yeah, I think he did a good job on that. And
so I would like to add 2 points to that. There has been discussion inside the moderation group about should the executive group be setting policy, and which is a little bit counter-optimal to say that if the moderation group is equivalent to the police, we don't want the police to advocate for their own rules and own
Sorry, can you repeat? Can you start that over again? I just heard police and I was like, wait, what?
No, I'm saying if we're equating governance to
law,
to government, and we say the moderation team is the police, we don't want that body, separation of powers. We don't want that body to set the rules. We want that body to be executive, and the moderation team sort of agreed on that we want to make suggestions. We don't want to be our own advocates.
Yes. And so Rachel, I already can hear you like. So he's making a kind of a metaphor where
Oh yeah, I know.
If the police create their own law, that's not good. The moderation team is definitely not the Node.js police. I will firmly say that as a team, as a member of the moderation team and the community committee co-chair, the Node.js moderation team is not the Node.js police. But the point is they're creating the rules creates a conflict of interest, and it is at that if there is a conflict of interest and there is an issue with an action the moderation team takes, it becomes difficult for us to the moderation team, it becomes difficult to say you are entirely impartial. And that can create an issue with the trust placed in the team broadly by both the community committee and the DTSC.
Well, isn't that the point, though, that like the reason why the rules for moderation team were set the way they were was that consensus building with CommComm and TSC has to occur so that the moderation team is never owning that exclusively anyway, but the expertise of those who were chosen for moderation, and because they are neck deep in moderating, provides them unique opportunity to offer that expertise to help define the policy, but they alone aren't plus oneing the policies to be set.
Yeah, and that's exactly the moderation team will not the discussions we kind of landed on is we will not plus one it, we will not write it, but we are happy to help offer expertise, help offer. Okay, this can be helpful. This will be an issue because of how it's been implemented. But the kind of the way that we've landed is the team should not be creating policy. Period. Happy to help create on that consensus building of CommComm and TSC, but not necessarily creating it.
Yeah, I apparently missed an important meeting.
Well, no, I wanted to
go ahead.
I wanted to suggest, yes, maybe, there are a couple folks that happen to be at the TSC meeting here that do have that context. What I think that would be helpful for the CommComm is actually to invite Forrest at the next CommComm meeting to come and share, that presentation. And, I found that very encouraging and, was nodding vigorously throughout. So, rather than us worrying about missing context, let's invite that context to us.
Yep, I agree with that. And honestly, Tracy, I think that would be a good way to approach that.
Right, and I think Tracy, I had the same initial reaction that hey, I thought we formed the team to do some of that. But I definitely understand the rationale and the approach, and I think it's a matter of just making sure that things don't fall through the cracks. Because I get the sense that as long as, for example, the CommComm and the TSC or one or the other said, "Hey, we need to better define this," and pose the question, then the team seemed open to answering and providing suggestions to that. The gap we might have is that if we don't pose a question or say, hey, we've got a gap here, then the moderation team may not choose to push that on their own. See what I mean? So it's making sure that if the TSC or the moderator or the or the CommComm committee believes there's some areas where we need something to happen, that we at least need to sort of quantify those and have somebody who says, let's change something on this front, because it may not happen spontaneously. But if we do that first step, then I'm hoping the moderation team with their, the special expertise, like you said, would jump in and say, okay, well, here's what we think based on our experience.
Yeah. No, this is just, I'm on the moderation team. So
right,
that's,
yeah.
And I thought that, I think I misunderstood that, the way that folks were talking, it sounded like it had been codified instead of it being actively in discussion. So
yes, it is actively in discussion.
Yeah, sorry, because I was like, wow, I missed one meeting, and I missed some important decisions that I don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah, that's totally my bad.
But I totally get what everyone's saying too. But that's what just for instance, I am on the community committee and I'm also on the moderation team. And when I was helping encourage the idea of a moderation team, it was because the expertise that's that can help define that policy. But I also made sure that the TSC and CommComm, in writing that governance, would be responsible for approving it, because if the leaders aren't on board with how that's working, then the moderation team absolutely will get blamed for this thing that they should not get blamed for, right? That's why they +1 it. So,
gotcha. In the interest of time, if we want to discuss this further, we should create a GitHub issue. But I do want to try to grab the next two issues, I believe. So, defining CommComm core values. This is again something that can go into a lot of depth in discussion. Tracy suggested we do a online working session. But basically, what it is as part of the issue described or we talked about earlier around the documenting expectations on TSC and committee members. One of the asks in that is to define values that the community committee and TSC can be upheld to. And so I wanted to kick off this issue to get the ball rolling on that. I actually found a very optimal one that I think is a good fit for what we're trying to do. But of course, I would like to get feedback on that. And we are going to actually try to do an online working session with online sticky notes, basically, to kind of enable us to define how our values play out.
Yeah.
So, good.
I think that the idea that we're going for is at the Node.js Code and Learn Day, we all broke up into groups and wrote down words on giant pieces of paper about like what we felt was important to the Node.js community and project as a whole. And we're basically going to do that on a more focused, specifically level 2 values of the that sentence made no sense. Specifically to what is important as the community committee. So I don't know if there's much discussion to have about this. It's more of a, hey, we're going to do this. Stay tuned for information. And if that's something that you would like to participate in, we will be talking about it in the repository.
Exactly. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so last item.
I have a question on that. What do we suspect the CommComm's values would differ from the community's values?
What do you? That's something that I don't think we know that expectation until it happens.
I see. Okay.
And I don't know necessarily if it would. Much in the same way that community committee differs from individual membership. We have to have a bit of a more refined set of definitions for community committee as a TSC, just like as a committee, just like the TSC doesn't necessarily represent every single developer that uses Node.
I think in the discussion it was that they may be more specific, so you could kind of look at it as a tiered level where you have the first level of sort of higher level values, and then we may have more specific values, which, like, for example, might be bringing in end user input, right? Which doesn't apply to everybody, but does apply to the community committee. So it's sort of that layering. I hope in the end we don't have conflicting values. It's more like
that was my follow-up question.
They're more specific, yeah.
Right, and I think if we do hit conflicting values, then we need to reevaluate what's happening and make sure we're aligning with the values together. And as Michael was saying, additive rather than differing.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, last item on the agenda. Fix case of extensions on internal docs. Move COC to admin repo. Okay, cool. So this is sorry, I was very confused there. So this is a PR in the admin repo, and I realize we've talked about the admin repo several times. For those of you who don't have the context on that, that is a repo that is collaborative between the TSC and the community committee that has some hosts, some administrative kind of tasks, like, for example, this issue is proposing moving the code of conduct for the org and the moderation guide as well into a central place that can then be referenced from individual repositories. It's kind of for it to be a neutral place. And so what this PR is just moving that into one place. In addition, I believe Miles realized he should have separated said that he should have separated the COC and moderation discussions into two separate pull requests. But just this is a review a to-do review for the community committee and observers as well, to see if we have any changes that need to be done here, any feels around this. So I think, unless anyone has questions around that, it would be great to get input on in this issue, and then we can push it through or address that input to make sure it aligns.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, from there was some pushback to moving them, but from my personal opinion is if they're the same, they should be in one place, because otherwise you don't know that they're the same, obviously, and they could easily drift unintentionally. I think CommComm and TC could still have different code of conducts, although I don't know. I think that would seem a little bit strange to me, unless it's sort of like an additive thing and there's something that's specific to one team versus the other. But anyway, that's my take on why it should actually be one place versus two.
Yeah. I generally agree with that.
I was going to say, I agree the same. If we decide that we want something that is above and beyond what the current code of conduct is, then I would almost recommend we list the code of conduct in a way that can, it's just linking. And then we have additional paragraphs that explain what our additive is.
So yeah, jumping in there and supporting the, well, if you agree that having it in one place makes sense, jumping in and supporting that, it's a good idea.
Awesome. So I think we're over time, and that was the last agenda item. So I think we're gonna end the stream now and head into our private session. So did we have any Q&A? I don't believe we did, but anyone? I don't have it open right now.
From last check, it didn't look like we had.
Okay. Awesome. So I believe we're gonna head over and end the stream and head into private session.
All right.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks,
Bye.
all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.